Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. You can just call me Toy, and I'm going to be talking about sonic.exe today. So, sonic.exe was made by JC Henna Jake Corley on July 24th, 2011. And I'm sorry if I said the name wrong there, but that is the one who made the game for sonic.exe. But the person who made the creepypasta that was posted on August 9th, 2011. Sonic.exe was inspiration for a lot of games, stories, and a lot of other different content that you've probably heard before come to life, like different Roblox games and stuff like that. And a lot of games were made in 2011, 12, and 13, like EXE games around then. But the first popular one for like Sonic.exe came out on August 13th, 2012, and the game was made by MY5T Crisson. I hope I said that right. Editor Toy here. That's Crimson. My bad. Crimson, not Kriston or whatever I said there. So sorry for mispronouncing the name there. And in the story and creepypasta, it starts in a summer afternoon. That's what it says. And Kyle, for some reason, they leave them a CD at their door for a Sonic game. And Tom, this is the writer here, that's their name, Tom. They put it in their PC because of course they do. But then they start talking about how the title screen became different than how it's supposed to be from the normal Sonic. And just start to describe it it's dark and Sonic turned different and stuff, like how you've seen in basically every single .exe game. Soon after that, they start talking about how it's weird or surprising that there's only three players that you could play as. And if I remember correctly in the story, they say directly Tails, Knuckles, and surprisingly Eggman. If I remember correctly, that's how they said that part. But also, they start playing with Tails, because I'm pretty sure the other two are locked, if I remember correctly. But they start playing as Tails, and when you do, if you play the game, but in the creepypasta, they see dead animals, and Tom, apparently gets a sick feeling or a nauseated feeling from that, and he starts to think the game is hacked, and they can't stop the character, Tails in this case, from walking up to Sonic. So they just have to watch Tails and Sonic interact or something like that. And then hide and seek begins. And they're surprised by this. But they start walking, and soon they start running, and they witness Tails die. And they are really shocked by this, because of course Sonic will never actually kill Tails. But before that, they're super, super shocked that Sonic can fly. They're so pressed about it that Sonic can fly. They put at least 3 sentences about how Sonic can fly and how shocking it is to them. And I kind of think that's funny, but still. Also, when I was reading the story for information, it said they met Shadow, something like that. And that's really weird to me, because what do you mean you met Shadow? It said when you meet Shadow, if I remember correctly, that's how it said in the story. So I'm confused about that. I'm surprised no one's talked about that part, unless that's just because someone put that in, because the original poster deleted the story, so it might have been someone who recreated it or something. But the website that I got it from, it was .org, like creepypasta.org, I think it was, .com or org, but it literally showed that part for the story, and it was apparently from the original like person who made the original story, apparently, anyways. But if anyone has read that, like from the original creator, and they didn't see that part, please tell me that, or tell me same difference, but please just like tell me if that's actually part of it, or the person who re-uploaded it put that in there, because I'm still confused on what do you mean by meeting Shadow. There's also a sequel to this story though. And this time it revolves around Crystal. This is the main character. It says it at the beginning of the story instead of like almost to the end, like Tom's name was. But Crystal, quite literally states that this story like starts like right after, or begins right after Tom's funeral. And we know from the last part that Tom was the one with the CD or disc or whatever at first. So we know he didn't make it. For anyone who didn't know there was a sequel, anyways. And so Crystal asks Tom's father for the CD disc or whatever, and Tom's dad gives it to him. Her, but and she plays it thinking that Tom made it, of course. But when she puts it in, it's not sonic.exe with the main three that we know of. It's actually Silver, Blaze, Sally, Mighty, and Amy, apparently. And so the level, she mentions one of the levels names, two of the levels names. Those are Trapped and Madness, or Maddened. I forgot which one it was, because I just gleamed over it. But, yeah, those are two of the ones that she named. They were both full on uppercase, and truly I find it funny. That a part of the story, she literally goes, "Did this story insult me?" Because Tom doesn't mention anything about insulting him, because I'm pretty sure in the story, Sonic.exe calls him or like Tails slow. So I thought Tom would do it, but it's funny that Crystal does. And so at one point, for basically the whole story after that, she talks to Sally Face. Not Sally Face. I'm sorry, just Sally. The squirrel? I forgot she was a squirrel or not. But Sally. And she talks to Sally the whole time. For the rest of the story, anyways. And by the end, she says you'll know what to do afterwards, because she was gonna find some like plushie, I think, of her or something like that, if I remember correctly, and which could lead to many different things, like in a sense it's not like a prequel or like a flepple, I think the third thing would be called, but so we don't know anything about if Crystal was alive, dead, anything like that, so we don't actually know if she's alive. Now to games, which is basically how basically almost every single person knows of sonic.exe. So most, if not all, sonic.exe fans, or just Sonic fans, know that there's a bunch of like sonic.exe games, like a bunch of different fan made ones, the original, quote unquote original one, and a lot of stuff like that. And so there's a bunch of fan-made ones with like all of the other Sonic characters, like Sally, Silver, Blaze, Cream, Amy, and even major characters like Cream's mom. There is creepypasta about Cream's mom. Vanilla, that's her name, Vanilla. That one B character, I have no idea what his name was, like Buzzy the Bee or something like that. The alligator, and then the other one from that group. I don't know. I don't know major characters, so forgive me for that. But, like, since these games came out, there's a lot that have inspired them, like Outcome Memories and Sonic the Disaster. Rest in peace to Sonic the Disaster, even though I barely played it after, like, it became non-popular or, like, toxic, kind of, but whatever, still. And so many more games. And, like, almost every single Sonic character, like I just said, has a sonic.exe game. And so, for the original, you probably all know how it works. You play as Tails, you do the thing, you play hide and seek, you get killed by Sonic.exe, then you go to Knuckles, you play as him, then you do the same thing with Eggman and blah blah blah, you know all of that gist. And we all know the story in games, but let's get on to the why with such a, in my opinion, boring story, because quite literally is used for everything now, so it's boring kind of now, because quite literally is just, friend gets CD-ROM, something like that, from a different friend who probably already died, puts it in the computer, TV, stuff like that, if it's a show, thing is haunted, cursed, but they always speak as hacked, glitched, code bugged, or something like that. Then they ignore it until the very end, and then they die. So, basically the gist of every single one of those stories. But with such a boring or basically overused concept, why is it still popular to this day? Well, it's because of the creepypasta. Like Eilish Jack, Slenderman, or Jeff the Killer. Like, they all have stories, right? But from the newest generations, it seems boring, right? To them, anyways, probably. But to us, it never did. So, mainly from nostalgia and, like, from remakes or revisions, or revisations, you can, like, relive that and see how, like Just the Killer, for example, with her girl counterparts, with, like, the fangirl one and the other one, I forgot what her name was, or like Jason, with, like, a lot of different, like, Jason, sure, it's a horror movie, but, like, there's gotta be, like, sometimes there's creepypastas about him, and usually he's in the creepypasta roster, sometimes, not all the time, but I've seen a few of them where he's there, but still, Jeff the Killer, mainly, it's known for in horror games a lot, because he's a killer, and in horror games, if you're a killer, sorry, or, or, like, you do, killing, or, like, you hurt people in your story, that's gonna get, like, edgy teens, and, like, teens who like the thrill of, like, hearing, reading, or seeing people die. I don't know why people would like that, but, like, horror movies and stuff like that, people who like those will like creepypastas about murderers. So that's why, like, murder creepypastas, or creepypastas with characters have, like, dark backstories, like how Jeff the Killer is a murderer because he got burned alive, almost, and, like, almost died, so he kind of went insane. Or, I don't know if Slenderman has a backstory other than, like, he was found in the woods, and he has papers and stuff they have to find. I can't fully remember for Slenderman, but still, they're popular because they're killers, they're known for killing people, and they have fun, cool, interesting stories. Or just nostalgia, because a lot of them are really old, like 2019 and stuff. And so, from that, a lot of people would want to revive, relive, and retell the stories just like sonic.exe. Especially since, in his case, instead of it being an interesting story, it has a character that a lot of people love and care about, like Sonic, for example. Because, quite literally, it is a Sonic thing, but still, like, even though a lot of the games and stories have Tails and Knuckles and Eggman being killed a lot, there are games where they could live. or with different endings, or with the interesting gameplay. So, with those retellings, it keeps it alive. Just like Friday Night Funkin', for example, a lot of games or creepypastas have come back to life from that. Or horror games, like I already said, like Jeff the Killer keeps getting used for those, so Jeff the Killer stays a lot longer. Like the ones with the shed, usually Jason and Jeff the Killer get used. Uh, and so when they keep getting used, a lot of people will be like, "Who's this character?" and start to research them. And so if a lot of more people try to research them, you get to know what this character is, that will keep the character alive longer. So that's why it's still around today and not like full on dead or forgotten. Like some other games that might have seemed cool or interesting but died out. Because a lot of people might have not cared about it enough to research it or put it in a game or something. So that means those ones who weren't able to be kept alive are now disappeared or really out of sight. Kind of like, let's say, Annoying Orange now, because he isn't really kept alive anymore, and a lot of people might have forgotten about him by now because of those reasons. Like, he isn't in major games, he isn't in horror games, stuff like that. He isn't even in most, like, Arby's and Roblox or something. So, with that fact, putting a character in a game like sonic.exe, Jeff the Killer, Slenderman, they all are still alive because of those reasons. And when people play those games, I don't know who they are, but want to research them, making that character in the game and catching the people's interest will make the character that you put in your game stay alive and relevant for much longer than just a year or two. And so I'm gonna cut this short so that way it isn't like an hour long. So thank you for watching, and I hope everyone has a good day, night, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. I hope you have a good rest of basically this year, because tomorrow is the last day of this year. Bye bye, everyone. See you next year, basically.